political romances are often short-lived. And she has been critical of him not only about the Epstein files, but about his involvement in foreign affairs. And I don't mean with women, I mean in various parts of the world.
You said it, not us.
Just to clear the table on that one. and so it's not surprising that they have had a breakup of sorts after all. He didn't give her a ring. He just supported her for a little while.
Listen, this fire is spreading. I mean, right, it started off talking about Epstein in the beginning. Then during the shutdown, she was one of the few Republicans that correctly identified Donald Trump's unwillingness to deal with the ACA subsidies and lower healthcare costs for Americans as being one of the reasons why the shutdown occurred.
Yeah, she was very outspoken about that.
Now she's talking about foreign policy. This is not going away. Whatever is going on between them seems to only be heating up, and I think the rest of us should get the popcorn.
I think
They're here for it.
And a war with words, sorry, Scott, a war with words with Donald Trump is such a risky business that I cannot believe she has the bravery to engage in it, because even if she was right, she's still going to lose.
Is there an example of anyone beating Donald Trump at this game?
Never. This is his game, and he's great at it. And she's barking up a tree that she's going to fall on her really hard.
You know, it's interesting. He has some people who profess to be strong supporters who do oppose him more often than the people that you might not think are his strongest supporters. She's one of them. Thomas Massie in Kentucky is another one. Rand Paul, my home state senator, he takes on Trump, although they profess to be Trump supporters. In this case, I think he had the order out of order. I trace all this back to his decision, the righteous decision to strike Iran. She was against it. So were some of the people who occupy that wing of the party. He defied them. And since that time, they all seem to be stridently picking at him on this issue or that. And then, of course, everybody knows in Washington, Miles, you know, the fastest way to get in front of a television camera if you're a Republican is to come out and crap on Donald Trump. And so that is what she is doing.
But, you know, Scott,
that is what she is doing because
she is
mad at him over these issues, and that's what happened.
Scott, I trace it further back than that. I trace it back to 10 years ago when you said Donald Trump was an authoritarian. And you know what, Scott, I've got to hand it to you. That was a remarkable forecast because 10 years later, I think you called it. Here's Donald Trump today, the man with the heart and soul of a fascist, showing us he now has the bona fides. By tonight, ordering investigations into American citizens. That's why members of his party, that's why members of his
running the executive branch. Why are you so upset he's running the executive branch?
For the same reasons you predicted he shouldn't. For the same reasons, Scott, you said he violated his oath and he should never be back in that office.
I happily voted
That's why I'm upset for the man being in the Oval Office.
I happily voted for him 3 times.
I know that.
The alternative was terrible.
And a lot of your friends were shocked.
Yeah, well, a lot of my friends would have been shocked at you trying to subvert the elected president of the United States, which you did.
Well, I proudly did. I proudly
some
said
mid-level
to the
staffer
country
substituting his judgment for the elected president of the United States.
Well, Scott, I would have loved to have seen you stand up to it.
Good luck.
Back to MTG. Is it the sign of a changing tide? Is it the sign, or is it a singular one back and forth between one Republican who is getting into a fight with Donald Trump? Or do you think there is a possibility that it is the beginnings of Republicans seeing past the Donald Trump era?
The short answer is that we don't know.
Because you've got like Thomas Massie saying exactly that. Like your vote on this discharge petition is going to outlast Donald Trump's time here. So you need to consider that when you make your decision.
But if we keep paying attention, what we see is that last week the president got his clock clean in an election. All the Republicans got their clock clean in an election. This week we see what's happening with the Epstein files. So next week we're going to see them take a vote. And if we see a bunch of Republicans defect on the Epstein files, I think what we're seeing is the real testing of the waters to find out whether or not you can oppose Donald Trump and still get elected. When we talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene, the one thing we haven't talked about yet is her fundraising prowess. And according to sources, she is the most popular fundraiser in the Republican Party other than Donald Trump.
She's
if that's the case, they're going to divide up.
This prediction about no one's going to care about this.
I was asking it a question. I wasn't predicting it.
No, you said people were somebody said that this was going to outlive.
Tom Massie.
And the prediction that this was going to outlive. I totally disagree with that. I think right now more people are worried about whether they can watch ESPN on YouTube TV tomorrow than they care about this. And that's certainly going to be true in 1 year, 5 years, or 10 years from today.
But what they do care about, they do get their clocks cleaned last week.
They do care about the fact that the president is sort of breaking everything.
Right.
right? They see a hole in the White House right now. I was in Detroit last weekend for an event, and it was the #1 thing people came up to me at the scholarship dinner to ask about. Is it okay for the president to tear down the White House without anybody's permission?
That was the #1 thing?
That was the #1 thing that people brought up unprovoked.
Ridiculous.
to find out about.
Totally
I keep hearing
ridiculous.
this over and over again. Is like no one cares about this because they only care about that.
You know what they care about? They can't buy a house.
That they can't
They
afford. They
that
care about
houses
affordability.
aren't
Eric-
unaffordable and that food costs too much.
Yeah.
But they don't care about the White House. The fact is, a president
don't
who
care
can't
about the White
model
House.
the White
Many
remodel
people
the White
care about
House,
the White
That's
House.
ridiculous.
Every
a president
visitor-
who
Many
can wage
Americans
war,
care about the
who
White
can
House.
make
You
major
don't care about the White
decisions,
House.
Can't remodel a room in the White House.
He didn't remodel it. He tore it down. He tore down
Tomato,
a third of the White House.
tomato, tomato.
In the middle of a
I couldn't
government
tear down my
shutdown.
garage
Ridiculous.
without getting a permit from the city.
And that's
He can tear down-
overregulation.
But let me ask you this.
Destroying our
I
country.
think- I
And
think
he's tearing down a
I think
ballroom.
this often when people say you're all talking about this, but here's the focus should really be this. People hold multiple thoughts and focuses in their heads at the same time. Like people can care about multiple things. They can care about not being able to buy a new home. They can care about the skyrocketing cost of food, which we'll talk about shortly. And they can care about, I don't know, anything else. Stacey Plackett getting text messages from Jeffrey Epstein, if you want to take it from Scott's side. Like, you can hold all of these thoughts. I always think it's just someone trying to say to me, I don't want to answer your question by just trying to deflect that way. I find it a deflection when people say, don't focus on this. You need to focus. Everyone only cares about this one issue.
Well, I mean, if you're analyzing it from the perspective of like political consultant speak, like what do voters care about? How do we get voters to move a certain direction? Next year, the way you'll get voters to move would be on cost of living, health care. I mean, things that actually motivate their lives. They may have some interest in this, some passing interest in it, but motivation to vote? I mean, everybody knows what the bread and butter issues are. This won't be one of them, but the ones that will be relevant are quite obvious.
I disagree with Scott fervently on Donald Trump, and I could not agree with him more on that point. Voters aren't going to care about this next year. For better or for worse, they are going to care about things like affordability. Everyone in politics is going to be running that direction in the lead up to the election.
The people that do care about it, though, and consistently get lost in it, are the victims of Jeffrey Epstein,
That's right.
who then just wrote a letter to members of Congress saying, think about if this was you, and think about if this was your child when you're taking this vote next week.
Do you think
I am saying that because
Do you think the victims would agree with Donald Trump asking the Department of Justice to look into people that may have been involved in this and got away with
Scott,
I will
it would have been
100%
nice if he did
not
it
speak
when he
for the
got
victims.
into
I know they can
office.
speak for themselves. I do know that Democrat, even Ro Khanna, said everyone investigate it.
Well, there seems to be a lot of anger about Donald Trump saying, well, maybe these people need to be looked into. Why?
Right.
If they were involved
I
in
think,
it.
that, where the interest is if these people are looked into, a member of Congress actually said it today, we don't have time to run it, but if these people are looked into, does that mean that Donald Trump can be looked into as well?
Is there a shred of evidence he ever did anything untoward?
Is there a shred of evidence?
No.
that
About
anyone-
anybody else, is there a shred of evidence? No.
I
All
can
right,
tell you,
same answer for the other
spent
people.
time